Hello and welcome to the Art Class Curator podcast. I am Cindy Ingram, your host and the founder of Art Class Curator and the Curated Connections Library. We're here to talk about teaching art with purpose and inspiration, from the daily delights of creativity to the messy mishaps that come with being a teacher. Whether you're driving home from school or cleaning up your classroom for the 15th time today, take a second, take a deep breath, relax those shoulders, and let's get started. Hello, everybody. It's Cindy Ingram, and I am happy to welcome you to the Art Class Curator podcast. And I have a great interview for you today. It's a little on the shorter side because this is actually going to be a two-part episode. We have the first part with Olivia Ollis, and she is an art teacher in North Carolina, and she has had an experience over the last year where she deepened her connection to works of art and has discovered a lot about herself in the process. And she participated in a museum program that helped her through this. And I also will be interviewing the museum educator who runs this program as well. So that episode is coming as well to talk about it from the side of the person planning the program. But I really love this conversation with Olivia because it really does illustrate the power of art connection. And I know I talk about it all the time that you can learn about yourself through art. You can have deep connections. You can explore the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings that come in works of art, and it can add value to your life. And we want that for our students, and that is really what I've been focused on in my career up until this point, is helping teachers make these connections so that their students can make these connections as well, and that, will, I think, ripple out into the world. But I have been finding more and more that I crave that deep connection and those deep conversations with people who are changing their lives through their interaction with works of art. So you're going to see a change in this podcast. We are rebranding in a few weeks. So starting in January, we're going to have a brand new name. It will be a slightly different focus for the podcast, although the same things that I'm passionate about, you will see those come, again and again. But these art connection stories, these conversations about art and what we can learn about ourselves through art are giving me so much life right now after the last couple years of stress and refocus and a re-understanding of who I am in the world. And I think what the pandemic gave us, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, is that we had the chance to really survey everything in our life and everything that it got stripped down. And then we are now making these decisions on what we want to add back in. And the thing that I want to add back in, the thing that I realize that I have been craving, is deeper conversations and deeper connections. And so that is what I hope to have here on the podcast moving forward. So I cannot wait to share that with you in a couple weeks. And we have decided to run the Art Connection Circle, which you heard about in my episode a few weeks back with Lisa Carpenter. We are going to start the new Art Connection Circle the week of January 17th. So if that was something that you are really interested in pursuing and checking out, you can head over to artclasscurator.com/circle. And the types of insights and inspirations that you will see in this conversation with Olivia today is what the types of conversations and connections that we hope to build together and co-create together in this Art Connection Circle. So I hope that you join us. You can head over to artclasscurator.com/circle if you're interested in checking out the program. And we would really love to have you. So without further ado, let's introduce Olivia Ollis and hear her incredible story. I am so excited to welcome Olivia Ollis to the podcast. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
So you reached out to me last month in response to an email that I had sent to my email list and shared your story of how you have been using art with your health journey. And I thought it was a really powerful email and a really powerful thing to talk about. So I'm so excited that you're here to share with us. So can you just introduce yourself? Tell us about your background and experiences before we get started.
I am a K-8 art teacher, and I have taught for over 30 years. And I live in a very rural part of North Carolina, eastern North Carolina. but I am close to the North Carolina Museum of Art, and I'm close to Wilmington, the Cameron Museum of Art. I can travel where I need to go. So I'm not completely and totally isolated. Sometimes that's nice. And art has always been an important part of my life, but whether through my parents and their medical journey, and now my most recent medical journey with cancer, art has been very important in healing and coping.
Yes. So before we start to talk about your connection with art and healing, can you tell us a little bit more about your classroom? Like what kind of projects do you like to do? What does your classroom look like?
I have a wonderful classroom. I teach at B.F. Grady Elementary in Albertson, North Carolina, in Duplin County. And I teach K-8, which is a wide span of ages. And I am constantly with my students saying, all right, give me a minute. Don't mean to talk to you like kindergartners. I just had kindergartners. Wait a minute, I'll get to fifth grade. Be patient with me. We do all sorts of things. But I feel like it's very important that we integrate the arts into the subject matter. One, it helps me because those who are not quite as interested realize, oh, I heard that before. This is important. And also the teachers buy in. And it also helps strengthen and support the teachers in what they're doing. It just makes life more interesting. And as I tell them, artists pull their ideas from all over the world. So we're going to pull our ideas from all over the school, everything you're learning. And we go on virtual field trips, but also we've done field trips. I bring artists in to work with the students so they understand that particular process that the artist goes through, and it enriches them, also enriches the teachers. So I try to have a balanced art appreciation, creating art, making art, looking at art. And we have fun and we make a mess, but everybody seems to understand that's okay.
Yes, beautiful. And what made you want to be an art teacher? How did you get into this field?
I have always enjoyed art, and I remember being really little and painting with watercolors on pieces of cardboard. I mean, I was always allowed to dabble. I really didn't know what I wanted to do in college, and I took an elementary art course for classroom teachers, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the art professor said, "You're teaching the class, so you're going to be an art teacher." And I just said, okay. And I have really enjoyed it. Now, yes, there are ups and downs, but I have really enjoyed it. And one thing about being an art teacher, at the end of the day, you have been working with shapes and first graders and cutting shapes and free form and all sorts of things. And you can, at the end of the day, sit back and you look at those ridiculous turkeys where they learned to make a cube and then they converted it into a turkey. And some are screaming and yelling and losing their feathers like some of the children. Some are very quiet and contained. So it's just hysterical. So I have enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment. There is always a funny story at the end of every teaching day, which that's such a great joy. So tell us about what's going on with you now with your cancer and introduce us to that story.
Well, starting last spring, I began to have some problems. Immediately went to the doctor, who sent me to another doctor, who sent me to another doctor, and it went into surgery and chemotherapy and radiation. I had a wonderful support team from my resource team at school and family and community. And I felt real good about it. And this is all going to be fun. I tried being in the classroom, but it just did not work. I was too weak. Mm-hmm. It just did not work out. I felt it was important that the kids see me there and I'm fighting through it and everything, it's going to be fine, particularly with the pandemic and all that has occurred. But it just wasn't happening. So I'm home doing lesson plans, trying to keep up with everyone, and that's fun. But so I think they all understand that. But I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer, had surgery. Then I had 3 rounds of chemotherapy, 5 weeks of radiation. Then I've had 1 more round of chemotherapy, and I have 2 more to go. And then I'm expecting all scans to be clear and have a great new year and gradually get my strength back. And I will be back in the classroom the 1st of January. So I'm looking forward to everything getting back on a normal schedule. But the Cameron Museum of Art in Wilmington and the Medical Center and the Zimmer Cancer Center, which is part of that, they had this program called Art Enhances Health. And I jumped at it because I could hanging on to my art and looking at art and connecting with museums and images and everything I was trying to do to sort of to reach out, to take care of me because there were things I could not do, but there were other things I could focus on. I could find some calm, some peace, some distraction in that. So this is a wonderful program. As I say, everyone who is a part of it, who signed up to participate, and we're at the Cameron, we're all in the same storm. We're in the same harbor at the Zimmer Cancer Center, and we're all in different boats, but that's the same. But we all have a desire and appreciation to learn more about art. And we start in the gallery. Then we do writing exercises, which is a good way to explore between the gallery and how we're feeling. And I love the fact that the person who is leading the writing said, okay, now you can burn these if you want to. So we can put down whatever we want, and then we can destroy it if we want to or hang on to it. And that has been really good because I'm not a writer, visual person, but not a writer. And that's been good. And then we actually do hands-on art activities. So then we take ideas from what we've written, what we've seen, and we've done collage, we've done drawing, painting. We're just having a good time and we're laughing. And that's the best distraction, I think, of all, of being able to leave some of the worries and concerns, and you're not feeling well, and it seems to be going on forever, to find some sense of peace and hope and happiness.
Well, that is so beautiful. I mean, I could think of, everything that, and I have not gone through, such a situation, but I can imagine everything that you would think, the community of people around you that are also going through what you're going through, the opportunity for self-expression and a deeper relationship with yourself, and then the distraction, and then the joy and the fun of it, like all of that wrapped into one package. And the creative expression. Did I say that one? I think I did say that one. But that's really wonderful. So do you meet like every month? Or
we meet once a week on Mondays, and the museum is closed. We meet for 2 hours. So this way we aren't encountering the public. We all wear masks and social distance and everything, but we're not putting our health further in jeopardy by coming in to contact with other germs. So it's wonderful that the museum has extended that and worked with the hospital in meeting these guidelines. So we meet for 2 hours. We meet once a week. And then we all understand that there was a day I couldn't be there because of chemotherapy treatment. There are days others can for different reasons. I think we can all too look and recognize we're so glad to see each other, and we're glad to be there, and we can recognize who's not quite feeling quite as well, but everybody has something to contribute. And it's a very, a slower pace. There's no, having been in a classroom, you're always up against the clock and trying to get things done. This is much more relaxed, and it's for 6 weeks. And I think this is sort of a beginning, starting because we've had people also from, I believe it's public health within the hospital system, and they've done surveys and things. So they have also been there. So it's, I think this is a learning experience for all of us, but I think it's extremely valuable. And it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. I know that for me to continue to have the opportunity to look at art and to share opinions and think about things, plus I'm finding that as I look at art, or I'm creating art, or I'm writing about art, there's also a part of me that's reflected. So I'm learning more about me.
Yes. Can you speak a little bit more about that process of learning about yourself through the art, or provide an example, or to kind of illustrate what that means for you?
Well, one type of writing was legacy writing. And what do I want to leave from this experience, or take from this experience, or what do I want others to notice from this experience? And something that people have said that really resonated with me, but I was really surprised at, that I'm so positive. And I thought, really? And I thought, I don't think of myself as that way. And I thought of going back, as I'm also an artist, my drawings that I did after my father died. My mother had Parkinson's, and they were very revealing to me of, I realized what was important and what was going on in my life. And I don't know that I would have thought of them as necessarily positive. But my work is that I'm doing in class, I'm writing, apparently it has a more positive beat. One of the things with also with affirmative writing, what's important and what's positive, what's your safe place, your happy place. And I realized my front porch was my happy place. Being in the middle of nowhere, it's wide open and swings on one end, it runs the length, I can walk to the other end. Of course, now all my plants are dying because I have not been able to take care of a thing, but that's okay. But my collage was very bright and cheerful and happy and warm. So it's really interesting how you find those things, or things that I really hadn't thought about come up in the writing, and I realized, oh, I'm stronger than I thought I was. So it's been very revealing. One particular piece at the museum in the collection that we saw, I needed to have prints, and I believe it's the Belden Gallery. I think it's and you'll have to help me here, I can't remember, it's Delaney or Delaney Sonia.
I think it's
anyway,
Delaney.
Delaney, her bright, colorful prints. And I really needed to see those bright, moving colors that day. And then another day, there's a Rauschenberg, and it's all different grays, but there's this broom and it's sweeping. And I thought, I need to sweep things out of my life. I need to make room so I have more space for me. I'm accustomed to being overwhelmed with K8 and family and dogs and all that. And I can't quite separate that from this is my time alone, but that's okay. But I can clear things out. So that was something that until after looking at it and thinking about it, and we discussed it and writing about it, I didn't realize, oh, that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Oh, you just gave me chills head to toe. I love that. I mean, that all you can learn. And I just wanted to highlight just a couple of things. Just, you discovered things about yourself that you maybe you probably assumed, never like deliberately thought, like your safe space. But then you also did so in a community and people reflecting their views of you back to you. And so you're seeing yourself through a new lens. And I was surprised to hear that you didn't see yourself as positive, because I've only spent, 20 minutes with you now. And then an hour last week or 2 weeks ago. And I was like, you are, you just kind of radiate this sort of like, I know it's positivity, but like this love energy, And I love that you got to see yourself through other people's eyes too. That's beautiful. And then you also got to feel all the range of human emotions in connection with the art, and that sort of safe space of a work of art, and how it can be there for you wherever you're at that day. And I think that is really powerful. In this program, is this your first time to ever really spend time looking at art in this way for yourself?
I've done that some. At one point in time, at a different phase in life, I love to go to the North Carolina Museum of Art like New Year's Eve and spend time and go back. And I said I would go back and visit old friends. So I've always enjoyed looking, but it's on a much deeper level. And I don't know if that's because I try always, when I'm in the classroom and working with the kids, we start with a work of art and visual thinking strategies and look through and thinking through. And it's not whether you like it or not, you got to tell me why and what the evidence is there, and helping them look and then produce art. So whether I was already sort of accustomed to that, but here it's for me. And that's been extremely important. So looking at art has always been important, but this is it's a different meaning. And a lot of times I can find peace there where I guess I wasn't looking for it before, but now I can find it there.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I think I've noticed that teachers, and I'm guilty of this too, for a while, I would go to art museums and I would spend all my time looking at the art through the eyes of how would I teach this? How would I show this to my students? What example, like, is this a good example of this particular topic, or how can I, what activity I can do with it? Or I would be thinking about the website. I'm like, oh, I could do an email about this. And then suddenly one day I was like, I need to just put my phone down, turn my brain off and just experience the art for itself. And that's when like the true magic happened, when I allowed myself to let it be for me and for no one else. So I love
one
that.
thing I found with the kids is if I put me aside and listen to what they're saying, a lot of times they come up with things that I hadn't seen before, that it's amazing. But it is kind of hard to put that teacher hat over to one side and to really listen at what they've seen, what they found.
Yeah. And I love that you get to do this in this program with other people, and you get to be the student. You don't have to worry about facilitating that conversation, that you get to fully engage be a
Yes,
part
I
of it.
have enjoyed not being the art teacher.
Yes. You don't have to clean up and you don't have to plan it. You don't have to cut the paper in advance. Any of that. Just get to enjoy it. How do you think this will change your relationship to art moving forward?
Good question. I think one thing for me as an artist will be my work is going to change. Where my drawings have been, they're what I call fragmentations. They're bits and pieces of drawings that go together to make whole drawings that also separate and make images, but they're controlled. Simply because I have the time, I can get one little teeny tiny drawing done and I've accomplished something. Where now that's not as important as loosening up and the whole image and the energy or warmth or whatever strength that I have found it contains. So my personal work will change. But hopefully I am going to help the students find more meaning as we look at works of art and they look at their own art, because that's so powerful to me. And I feel like particularly with the stresses of today and we are in a rural area, and so there are many influences and problems that we have that you don't in a big urban area, and the same thing is reversed, to hopefully help them learn to find a way to help deal with things by looking at art. If they get that chance to travel to go to that museum, as their life expands, they have more opportunities. They have that confidence to go on and do that. So hopefully I can give them that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. How do you think this has, I think you might have already answered this, but maybe if there's anything else you can think of, but how has art, this experience with this program and just art in general, helped you through your healing process?
I'm not as focused on me. It would be very easy to be overwhelmed, between overwhelmed with the bills, between overwhelmed with trying to sit with the dictionary and define the words and learn all the medical jargon and the knowledge, to not look too far forward. Teachers were planning for the year or the 2 year, the whatever, we're planning ahead. And I don't need to plan too far ahead right now. I have to get through this treatment, and then this treatment, I have to give my body a chance to rest and recover. So it's helped me see a new perspective, not get dragged down and bogged down in depressive thought or dark thoughts or worrying about the fact that the money that I can't control and the health insurance and all that goes along with it. I'm very fortunate. My daughter took a leave of absence from grad school to take care of me because I'm in a rural area. I have to drive everywhere. She's driving me. And she has gotten me to the museum because she understands this is my mental health day. This is extremely important to me. So it's been a very valuable experience, and to help me stay focused on what is important and not get overwhelmed and bogged down, particularly when you're not feeling well. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. So I think that's what this has been. Plus, as I said, I can see others who are also going through the same thing. And that these wonderful works of art where I can lose myself.
I love that. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you the last question, which I ask every guest that I interview on my podcast. And that is, which artwork changed your life?
I would have said someone else, but now I think the Rauschenberg print with the broom sweeping, meaning I have to make room for me. I think that has perhaps been the most powerful right now. There have been others throughout different periods of time, but right now, I would say that particular print with that broom, and I am not a housekeeper, but in that motion of sweeping, I need to move and clear things out.
Can you describe your initial reaction to the artwork? Did you initially feel that sort of tug to the artwork, or did you kind of arrive at it after a little bit of time? Or
I sort of arrived at it. The art teacher in me had to go all the way around the gallery and look at all the different prints. I immediately liked that one because I like the motion in the piece. But I had to go and look at everything first. And I actually went to the Sonia Delaunay because I really, at that particular day, needed those bright dancing colors. But I went back to the gallery and looked, and I realized after the writing, this is what I need to do. I don't know what Rauschenberg's thought was, but that's okay. He had his own agenda. But mine, I need to sweep, get moving, sweep the stuff out, and clear more space for me.
I love that because, a lot of times people are expecting to have like an initial like jolt of like, ooh, this is the artwork, this is the connection. But sometimes it's a really slow burn. Sometimes you'll see the artwork 4 times before suddenly something about it hits your life. It's just the right artwork at the right time and the right process. And so I love, you were giving yourself and the artwork space to create that meaning together, and I love that. It's a good lesson. Well, thank you so very, very much for joining me today on the podcast. I hope that museum educators around the country are going to be inspired by this program and start ones of their own. And then I hope that you also give some hope and ideas to people going through what you're going through to connect with art in new ways. So thank you.
Thank you. And it's been a pleasure talking with you. And if you ever get to North Carolina, you should visit the North Carolina Museum of Art and the Wilmington Cameron Museum of Art. We have
I definitely will.
Besides the long rural spaces that are quiet.
Okay, everybody, that is it for today's episode of the Art Class Curator podcast. Like I said in my intro, we will be hearing from the Cameron Museum of Art, who put on this program that Olivia discussed, and we will have an interview with them in a coming episode. And I'm so inspired by this conversation with her, and I hope that you are too. And if you do have an art story of what art means to you, what an insight that you learned about through art, a powerful moment that you've had in connection with works of art, I would love to talk to you about your story, either as an interview, or you can send me a voicemail about your experience and I can add it into an episode. So you can leave us a voicemail at 202-996-7972. You also can send me an email, cindy@artclasscurator.com. And if you're interested in being interviewed about your art connection experience. This is something I am so passionate about, and I can't wait to have these conversations with you moving forward as we rebrand the podcast in the next coming weeks. So once 2022 hits, you will start to see the new unveiling of our podcast. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I hope that you take some time for yourself, if you have a break in the next coming weeks, to visit an art museum and check out some art. Okay, have a good one. Bye. Do you remember when you last took time just for you? Not for your students, not for work, not for your family or friends, just you, connecting with your deepest thoughts, emotions, and desires. It seems like there will always be 100 things on the to-do list and a bone-deep exhaustion that makes it feel like doing anything but scrolling on your phone is impossible. You're here listening to this podcast because you know the power of art, but trust me when I say art has so much more to give you, if you'll let it. I'm talking about making space for you, your insights, your memories, your delight, all by using art as a catalyst for deeper connection to yourself and your life. You can get a guide on how to nurture your life and your spirit through art connection, including a guided art meditation, all for free at artclasscurator.com/meditation. Take the time to connect with your deepest self and find your path forward through art. You deserve it. Get your free meditation and guide at artclasscurator.com/meditation. Thank you so much for listening to the Art Class Curator podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and give us an honest rating on iTunes to help other teachers find us and hear these amazing art conversations and art teacher insights. Be sure to tune in next week for more art inspiration and curated conversations.